or he's only getting roles where he like just plays a tired, washed guy, and it seems like he's phoning everything in.
Right. The general attitude of a lot of his characters are kind of like, yeah, well, I'm a little past my prime. Got a little bit of the belly on me now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you,
I'm tired.
I'll give you a couple of pointers.
Right. Yeah. I think that like he's just like every character.
That's my Denzel impression, by the way. Hey, everybody. Denzel here.
Brunch. Hit it, boys.
Usually there's like a fun story or something that happened to one of us or something, and we just kick it off, and then we get the ball rolling, and then we dick around for, 88 minutes, and then edit it down. People don't know. These podcasts are way longer. There's a lot of editing in these podcasts.
It's like we dedicate half a day to podcasting, and then we vigorously cut it down to get the best 60 to 90 minutes worth of content that we could find. And so, if you've ever listened to Brunch and been like, wow, they did that straight through, it's just a conversation, you're very wrong.
Oh, no. We choose which vocalized pauses to keep to make it sound as natural.
Sometimes we swap them in and out. We're like, oh, this vocalized pause is way better than the one that is actually there. So
we've still never really done any of the super weird things of like where we record a podcast and then record it back with me reading your parts and you reading my part. I don't know, 1,000 years ago when we were doing this, I think we said, we were like, if only the technology existed where like someone could make a transcript for us on the spot. I bet that exists.
The technology absolutely exists now, yeah.
Like watching like Minuteman videos or anything like that, it has the script that's just a little incorrect enough that like that's automated. But that's really, really close.
We should do that. We should do that, and we should run it through one of those programs, and we should get like a little fucked up, and like come back to it like 2 hours later, and we probably like won't remember the podcast that we just had, and we'll try to figure out what the hell we were saying.
That would be great. And if we get fucked up, honestly, it would be funnier if we read our own parts.
Just trying
because I would be like, there's
like, what the hell was I trying to say here?
Right, to my fellow shower screamers out there, I mean, it's just a constant occurrence of thinking back on something I said 5 minutes ago, something the way I handled something 1 day ago. I'm like, oh, you could have done that fucking perfectly, and you didn't, you fucker, and that's how I scream in the shower. So, like, reading back a transcript of my podcast, I would be, or of my podcasting, I would be pretty, I'd be in rough shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of despair there.
I used to do that with like when I did TV. When I would get off, when I would finish like a hit or whatever, I'd be like, fuck, I should have said this differently. Now I just like don't care.
Oh yeah. Years ago at work, this is too personal.
Oh no.
They were, they let me host a show that I worked on forever, like when I was in college and everything, and they let me host it by myself. And I was so excited to do it. I was like, this is like a real like full circle moment. And afterwards, it was like the most you fucking suck I've ever felt in my life. And I generally don't really feel the way. I'm just like, hey, we did something, we all tried our hardest, and if it wasn't the best, then we're going to learn from it, etc. I'm generally pretty positive about that, and for whatever reason, maybe it's because I put so much pressure on myself there, I like picked up so much Wendy's and alcohol, and just like went home and was just like felt miserable, and I was like flipping through the channels, doing nothing, I was by myself, and then a re-air came on, and I was like, kind of buzzed, and I watched it, and I was like, that was the exact same thing as everything else you do. That was like that wasn't terrible. It wasn't unbelievable.
Yeah, I think like everybody's their harshest critic. I mean, like when we used to do the show, like in the first year or so, I remember there would be episodes where we'd stop and be like, "Fuck, we kind of sucked."
Right, we don't have it right now.
Shitty for like a week, and now it's just like, some days we're just gonna suck. It's just gonna happen. I don't know. I think I've discovered the secret to life is just to not care about anything.
Oh yeah, I mean that's generally my outlook on a lot of things of like
nothing fucking matters.
Try your best try not to, like, don't try to fail. Give it an honest effort. Prepare. Shit like that. Or if it's something that maybe preparation doesn't serve, don't prepare. Like, over-preparing can be an issue.
Over-preparing can be terrible. Be, like, rigid and like rehearsed and then kind of like stumble over yourself. I've done that plenty of times.
That is the worst. I used to go into the Bruins locker room with like a notebook where you're supposed to like write answers and shit like that. Where you're like scribbling.
Well, like write down like word for word questions and shit.
And like my notebook was already filled with like all these like notes and like shit of like, hey, this guy hasn't done this in 3 games. This guy did this the last 5 games. And I would like go up to somebody and I just have all these fucking notes and I'm like, what the fuck was I planning on talking about with this?
That and like if you have an idea in your head of like how you think it's exactly going to go, and if things change like a little bit, and that throws you off, and you like fall all over yourself.
That is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
The expectation versus, I guess it's kind of expectation versus reality, but yeah, where like you put any sort of like word for word, line for line expectation on something, the second there's a little dirt on the road or something,
you're like, whoa,
you're just like, oh well, now I have
this coming.
Oh, I didn't feel good at that job, like being a beat writer, until I was just walking in, like doing all that preparation of knowing, like, hey, this line's hot, this person hasn't done this or whatever. Like, for sure, know those things, but don't obsess over them. Mm-hmm. And just kind of, if you see a guy you want to talk to, just go up to them and say hi and friggin' start talking
have
to them.
Have a conversation.
Right. I'm here to talk about...
My name is DJ Bean.
Hi. He's like, yes,
I've seen you every
met
day for the
4
past
years ago. No, please. I'd like to talk about your play alongside, hold on, Kevin Miller. Afterwards, I'm going to talk to him about you, if that's okay. If you don't mind, let's just sit down.
It is what it is. And, I think that I've gotten better, I think. I just be a little... I also kind of, like you said, hold myself to the standards. Like, fuck, I was bad there. Like, I wasn't as good as the people that I see on TV. Well, the people that you see on TV are there because they're, like, literally the best at their job a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about... Have we had the inspired... Oh, yeah, we did with New Radicals. The inspire to keep going versus inspire to quit thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, whoa, someone can be this good at this? I gotta try my hand at this versus... That's what the fucking thing is. Yeah.
I'm never going to be as good as that. Yeah.
I have for a long time been that way with Stephen A. Smith. Like, Stephen A. Smith makes me so happy and, like, it just, like, makes me believe in the type of shit that we do. They're like, this is what pretty much close to perfection looks like, you know? And in no way am I like, oh, I'm never going to be Stephen A. Smith. Like, no shit. No one is going to be Stephen A. Smith. We're going to talk about Stephen A. Smith. That guy's a fucking miracle forever. Speaking of which, did you see that there's a Stephen A. Smith ESPN Plus show?
No.
It's called Stephen A.'s World, I think. And it's a lot of kind of meme-y type.
I was literally just going to say when you were talking about Stephen A. Smith and you're like, he's perfect and stuff. Like, I remember however many years ago, Stephen A. Smith, like before he found his perfect role at ESPN, people like really didn't like him that much. They didn't take him seriously because he was just like the guy on the other side of the desk of Skip Bayless. And like, I mean, he grinded his ass off, but he wasn't taken 100% seriously. I feel like Stephen A. has 1,000% found his spot and found his maximum value at ESPN by like embracing becoming a meme and just being the most entertaining guy possible.
You know, it's the same
so
way.
Fucking good at it.
You know, it's the same way as that. I hope that he doesn't take this the wrong way. Right? Like Mike Felger was like that. He would do the Big Show on WEI, and Boston listeners will care about this. Other people might not, but Mike Felger is like the radio king of Boston. But he was like one of the rotating cast of people who would come on the Big Show, and they weren't like mean to him or anything, but they just there wasn't the way Stephen A. is treated now. And the way Felger is treated now, it just kind of wasn't like that. They were like, well, this guy's a guy, and he comes in with a take, and they're like, well, yeah, so what? Like, that's just a take, and kind of move on. Where now, I mean, Mike Felger talks people listen.
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith kind of had a
and
similar...
like when Mike Felger like drops like a hot take, it just sets off an alarm, and it's like, oh, Felger's got a fucking take.
He's the best. I love him so much. I'm just smiling from ear to ear. I love that guy. But yes, yeah, you're right. Stephen A. used to be, he was like the columnist that they would have on, and
the radio guy.
Yeah, and they'd like kind of make him, and then over time, like, I mean, people would like when if he like got pissed in a debate or whatever, because he doesn't lose anything when. My dad always says the easiest way to lose an argument is to raise your voice. So like once you raise your voice, they're like, oh, he's losing it. He's like come, and then like as you're doing it, you start like yelling about other shit, and you're like, wait, we don't even know what this guy's talking about anymore. Stephen A. Smith, when he like the farther he throws the ball, he doesn't lose a touch of accuracy.
Yeah, no, never.
It's crazy. So he'll get super excited, and he is still locked in. Perfectly articulate. Like, you want to talk about like the best speaker in the world? Honestly, like I'm trying to think. Presidents aren't as well spoken as Stephen A. Smith.
No,
he can get pissed. He can be going at you 100%, and there's not one there's not one nothing.
Yeah, I just like I would love to just know how his brain works and how he processes things in real time, because you're right, he doesn't lose any accuracy, and like he obviously does a million fucking things, and sometimes he swings and misses because he's so like, I don't want to say spread thin, but like he's all over the fucking board.
Yeah,
he does every fucking sport. He does radio, he does TV, and he's fucking good at all of them. And he does social media. Like, he's insane. I just want to know like how he processes things in real time to like never trip over himself.
I know. I think that way about sometimes like how certain people listen to music. Like I'd love to know like
it's like see things through the lens.
Totally. Yeah. Where I'd love to know what this person's hearing when they hear this song, because I think that everyone kind of processes everything a little differently, but someone who does it that well, he's just unbelievable. But he has a show on ESPN Plus, and I think it's very meme heavy. I've only seen clips of it online, and honestly, I feel bad for Stephen A. Smith burner account guy, because
I would also like to see how the fuck that person operates, because they are the best account on social media, and literally, I mean, I guess it's fitting that like a Stephen A. Smith burner account would be fucking everywhere, because Stephen A. is everywhere, and like
he's first
in
one
all
in.
places at
he or
all
she,
times.
Whoever's running that account, they are
crazy.
The first one in. We all like half of the texts we send each other are. Someone will like, I don't know, like John Morosi or somebody will tweet some baseball news, and immediately first response is this incredible Stephen A. Smith meme. But I feel bad for whoever's running that Stephen A. Smith burner account, which it's not actually Stephen A. Smith burner, but that's the name of it. Like, yo, you should be getting a check out of this.
Yeah.
Because this culture
you have created
of
this.
Memeing everything with Stephen A. Smith, honestly, it's kind of, I don't know, like Kanye-like, where, and obviously people were doing it long before Kanye, but Kanye's a great example of it, where you can take something great, sample it, and make this unbelievable other thing out of this already great thing that's completely different, right? Like Stephen A. Smith content as it is, like we're watching First Take for a reason, right? Like that. Yeah. That you don't want to change a thing about it.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like him finding his maximum value as like a meme embracer has allowed him to be fucking everywhere on social media.
Yeah.
And it makes people want to tune into Stephen A. Smith and like see what crazy shit he's going to do next.
He's the best. And you know what else is the best? The fact that we got to have this conversation, because I really did not know what's the part of this podcast other than talking about bad things we saw going to be.
I want to first...
We saw bad things.
Yeah, we did. Well, I also saw a good thing, but it's going to be a discussion that is like, I think is going to annoy me. So I'll just like, that'll be the segue. I watched La La Land for the first time in a while this week. And I texted you and I said it, and I think that you had like the perfect response where you were like, we should have seen like the like culture shift, or like, I don't know, public mentality shift coming when people turned on La La Land. And I think that's such a good point, because like the world turned on La La Land and just like found reasons to hate it dug so deep to find reasons to hate that movie for no reason. And then everybody just agreed. They were like, yeah, that movie sucks.
Right. Then like you get made fun of if you like La La Land. I mean, there's, I don't know, not to be an old guy, but there's like the, I fuck with this, I don't fuck with this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's not too many times where I'm like, hey, if you don't fuck with this, like, you are wrong.
Or like if you, yeah. I mean, unless it's like an offensive, obviously, like we're just talking about like art, things that you're consuming. Like,
yeah, right.
Like, we're not saying like
pop culture
right,
stuff. Yeah.
If you don't fuck with Donald Trump, I've got some, nothing like that. I mean, like, just like, hey, you're not cool if you like this thing. That's so, it's a fucking Ryan Gosling movie. And I mean, you know our thoughts on it. That's a great movie. But yeah, seeing that this movie came out and everyone liked it, the kind of the sprint to, hey, let's fucking own these fuckers. Like, why?
Right.
Awesome movie.
And like, I don't. A lot of people fucking like celebrated when it didn't win Best Picture. I don't know if that's because of the weird way that it happened.
I mean, that was lovely chaos.
It was great chaos, and I'm a big fan of chaos. But like looking back on it, man, I fucking wish that movie won Best Picture.
I felt really bad for Damien Chazelle.
Yeah,
because I mean
that's the most horrible thing that it could happen to like anybody.
Right. It's not you lose when you're in your seat.
Right.
You lose when
like you win.
Everyone's looking
Just
at you.
Bitch punked.
Yeah. Everyone is looking at you, facing you. You got all dressed up. They're looking at you, your stupid little suit. And like that, I'm sure that's what he was thinking at that time. He was like,
wish I didn't wear this fucking shirt.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't wearing this fucking shirt. That was you know who had a very graceful response? I gave it away by saying graceful.
Who?
This is a very graceful person. And I maybe that term is tough because it's often ascribed to women, and in this case, I am using it for a woman. But
canceled.
I think about that sometimes, like where I'd say, like, "Hey, this person is this," and then you're like, "How come people only say?" And it's again, I'm not fucking making a big thing of it, but just a little interesting.
People
thing.
say that about emotional.
Really?
Yeah, when people say like, "Oh, this being emotional," and like, I think a lot of women don't like when the word emotional is thrown around because it's like attached to them a lot.
Interesting. So the word I've always used the word shrill to describe Tom Brady, and
correct.
Often it'll get like shrill. You think he's shrill? And I'm like, let me play this video. Let's go. It's about. I'm like, that's what. Right? Like, isn't that what shrill means? People will be like, oh, I just didn't, I guess I just never thought of that as shrill. And it's because people only use that word for women. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's be better with words. Okay. And again, like, you're not a terrible person if you do it mistakenly.
Who is graceful?
But, Emma Stone.
Yeah. Fair.
I'm trying to think who else up there was graceful. Damien Chazelle was not graceful. He was melting down.
Was he disgraceful?
I don't think he was disgraceful.
There's a very strong bridge from graceful to disgraceful.
Honestly, what a great word. Disgraceful. Because you think like, oh, like this is a disgrace. Like it's kind of like calling like clown is such a popular term now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Pete's being disgraceful. Like, ooh, burn or whatever. But like, when you really think about it, like having grace. It's this incredible thing. We've all seen the Seinfeld episode. Yeah, like you aspire to have grace. If someone goes out of their way to describe you not having grace, I don't know, but like I don't think I'm super graceful. I
don't think that I have a ton of grace.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say that I'm disgraceful.
Right, but to say that you're disgraceful,
non-graceful.
Yeah, that's fucking tough. Kind of similar to when you say like bye to somebody. Like my favorite goodbye is take it easy, because it's so fucking on paper it's so fucking aggressive. Like, have a good one, take care, like things like that. Mm-hmm. You go with the classic bye, goodbye, any of those. But if
also take it easy really depends on like the inflection.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Take it easy.
Right. So if I'm leaving and you're like, okay, bye, and I'm like, take it easy, it's essentially, I feel like I'm doing stand up right now, but it's essentially like bye, calm down. Just calm down, okay? Take it easy. Right? So it's kind of like that. Calling someone, if you could like literally call someone disgraceful.
Like, the entire first 20 minutes of this podcast are just words, huh?
We got to do something. This is gonna, Tim Heidecker. We got to do something about the English language, by the way. It is constantly getting us in trouble. I have one example of that. Yo, so I watched it again the other day. I'm like,
of course you did.
I've probably watched that maybe, I don't know, like 30 times.
It's insane.
It's all I can think about. Not all I can think about, but I'm constantly there's a. It's kind of like the I think you should leave Fallout, except nobody else will even finish watching. Most of my texts are
you took an I think you should leave skit and made it fucking like 60 minutes long, and people just aren't getting it.
But you know how there's like so many memes that people have off of that where hey, like everything can be an I think you should leave joke.
Yeah.
Everything can be
nobody gets it.
A horrible An Evening with Tim Heidecker joke. Like when you texted me, I thought about it for a second. You texted me, you said, just watch La La Land. Forgot how much I love that movie. I was like, computer's over there. Give me 5 minutes and I clip it. I could send him back, la 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 ma ma.
God. Yeah, but I watched La La Land and how is anybody coming away from that movie be like, just not for me? Like, it's just full of charm, great story. I forgot how fucking amazing the visuals were. The colors are
beautiful,
amazing. Ryan Gosling, incredible. Emma Stone, incredible. I saw people complaining that like they didn't like it because it was like basically Hollywood filleting itself.
Oh, it definitely. That was. I mean, I think that was a calculated choice by Damien Chazelle of like, how can I jump to the front of the line here?
Like glorify Hollywood and really appeal to these people. Which, I mean, I guess like I can understand that criticism, but they did it really fucking well.
Exactly. Right. I mean,
it didn't seem all that shameless. Like maybe if you look it through that lens, it comes off as shameless. But like, if you're gonna be shameless and deliver it in a very well packaged way, okay.
That's the thing. Yeah, you want to make a kind of like, it's not even generic, so I won't say that. But like, I don't know. Like, there's got to be,
you want to check all the boxes, I guess.
There's going to be shit like that is just trying to appeal to all these things. And as you said, if you make it well, then kind of more credit to you, because it would be very easy to just look at it and say like, oh, it's just clearly going for this.
I feel like A Star Is Born tried to do a lot of those things where they were like that's showbiz, baby.
Definitely.
And they did a lot of it. And I wouldn't say they did a lot of it wrong, but like it seemed more transparent than the way that La La Land did it.
You want to regrade A Star Is Born real quick on the fly? What do you think it is? I haven't
watched it again.
Yeah, I haven't watched it a second time.
I want to.
I apply that to a lot of movies we talk about where in an effort to defend a lower grade than others, I'll say, like we did this with Folklore. Like, well, are you think you're gonna still be listening to it in a month or whatever? I wish I had applied that to A Star Is Born because I would have been correct. If I was like, how many more times are you gonna watch that movie?
Yeah, but I think a lot of like movies, I have no interest in seeing it again, but I still think it's a great movie. Like, for I think like the replayability or whatever, the longevity of a movie is way less important than it is for music, because nobody's ever going to be like, heard that song once, it's awesome, never listen to it again. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Definitely true. I mean, you can't even get to know a song on the first listen, really. So that would imagine. That's why, like, if I give an album a try and I don't really like it, I'll try to give it another listen in like 3 weeks or something.
But I will take away
miss out on something that you love.
I will take away points from a movie if like the first time around I was like, it was hard to follow, or like if I need a second viewing to feel like I'm getting the full experience or whatever, I'll take away points for that.
I did that with I did a second viewing with King of Staten Island and Promising Young Woman, both of which on the first watch I was like, good, not great. Let's give it a second spin. And in both cases, I liked them a lot more the second time. Although King of Staten Island's still probably like a low B.
Yeah,
it
I think
has like
that's
a
fair.
good second half.
The biggest one for me was Dunkirk, just because like the timeline is so screwy and trying to follow like.
Oh yeah,
Because they keep jumping back and forth based on like the timeline of events. So when I watched watched it a second time and had like a better understanding of what was going to happen and tried to keep like an eye out for it, it's just a really enjoyable movie.
yeah.
But
Star is Born though, grade.
I would say like B plus A minus tier.
I'd say solid B, maybe B plus.
I liked it more than you did.
Yeah, what was my issue with it?
I think you just thought that like people were going too crazy over it.
Maybe. Yeah, that stinks though. I like to have a better argument than that though. To just like, hey, calm down everybody. It was fine. Well, why was it fine? I hope I actually had an answer for why it was fine.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. I remember the end, the last song that Gaga sang, the kind of like "I Will Always Love You" scene. Mm-hmm. I was like, I know there's only 15 seconds left in this movie, but I might turn this off. Like this is so uncomfortably derivative.
That seemed unnecessary.
Yeah,
That seemed like it could have been like a post-credits scene or something.
yeah. But I mean, Bradley Cooper, good.
Looked fantastic.
Jackson Maine. I remember we were ahead of the curve on everyone getting excited about that movie. Like Bradley Cooper looks fucking great. Like yeah, it's because he wrote and did all this stuff.
Yeah.
He just
Like,
put
yeah,
himself.
he just made himself the coolest guy in the world.
Which, not a bad move. If we ever get Dog Court off the ground, I'm gonna give
Been a while
myself
since
like
we've discussed that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give myself the fucking shittiest, most depressing role. Breakout performance, breakout role. Like you're going to get the who does Florence Pugh play in Little Women?
Oh shit.
Is it Amy?
Yes.
So like Amy, I think in the Little Women world, they
Has
say
the most room to thrive.
right. They
Highest
say
ceiling.
like that's the part you want.
You don't want Meg.
Right. You can knock Amy out of the park. Like if we get
Meg's ceiling is a fucking C+.
yeah, if we get Dog Court off the ground, I'm probably gonna give you like the Amy. People are gonna come away being like, holy shit.
It's a lot of pressure though.
Pete's got but it's just such an easy role to nail that like you do a good job on it.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, yo, Pete should be voicing dogs. This is what he's great at. And then me, the guy who wrote it, gave himself the worst.
Meg.
I'm going to give myself a horrible thing.
Everybody
They're gonna
comes
be like,
away from the movie being like, is the guy who played Meg even good?
right. Which, unfortunately,
I did that with Emma Watson. I felt really bad about it.
oh yeah, I
was
remember
like,
that.
Is she even good?
I hate. Yeah, it's tough because as we transition to discussing whether or not an actor is good,
I almost tweeted it out. Last night. I didn't want to dip into show material, and I didn't want to. So I guess we can transition to it right now. I guess we watched The Little Things, which is the movie with Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto that came out from Warner Brothers and went straight to HBO Max and also in theaters. I say it right away. Didn't like it.
I mean,
It was
sucked.
fine.
I don't think. I think it.
That was very
sucked.
forgettable. I don't want to say I enjoy. I was.
It mostly felt like you
invested.
were watching a movie.
Yes, I was invested while watching, but as soon as it turned off, I was like, "Well, that wasn't that good."
I mean, oh my god! Like this is, I think, kind of like kitchen level. It's not.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's not Snowman level.
No, they finished the movie.
They finished the movie, so it's like the SATs in Boy Meets World. But doesn't Eric spell his name wrong, so he
Yes.
gets like less than 200 or something?
Yeah.
I mean, so we can agree on whether like it was not very good or stunk. I think clearly neither of us approve.
I would say not very good.
Of this movie. But so you said you were gonna tweet this. I tweeted something like it, but I just felt so bad. I did that.
You didn't name names.
Did that tweet read as like I legitimately felt bad?
Yeah,
'Cause I don't want to hate.
Yeah, I think I read it as like, well, you're all gonna know. You're all gonna know who I'm talking about. Which you were wrong, because Ellen came up to me today and was like, "Did you think that Jared Leto was bad in The Little Things?" And I was like, "No, why? I thought that he was really good." And she was like, "Well, I saw a tweet from DJ." I was like, "Oh, so did I." And he's not talking about Jared Leto.
What did Ellen think of?
She didn't think that Rami Malek was bad, but I convinced her that he was. I think, because she was like, I didn't think that he was good, but I didn't think that he was bad. I just felt like his character did, like the way that he portrayed the character didn't really like fit. And I was like, so he did bad,
right? So
yes.
So listeners, if you're confused, we do not think that Rami Malek did a good job in this movie. And
I would say that he did a very bad job in the movie.
Yes,
and I'm not that guy. I'm never somebody who comes away being like, that actor sucks, or like that actor actively took away enjoyment or like my investment in the movie.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened to me. I could not.
You have to.
I couldn't
really
focus.
bad.
I couldn't. I'm watching a fucking movie with Denzel Washington, and I am so distracted the entire time.
And I know that like we fucking hate Bohemian Rhapsody, and we gave Rami Malek a lot of shit for it. But I don't dislike Rami Malek.
Me neither.
I kind of root for him.
Yeah. This makes me question him significantly.
So what I was going to tweet was: Is there any bigger, in quotes, is this guy actually good, in quotes, actor in Hollywood more than Rami Malek right now?
I mean, I think that the acting / comedic adjacent is quite obvious, right? Probably Pete Davidson.
Yeah, but again,
people question like, is this guy actually like?
Yeah, but I've never come away from like a Pete Davidson movie being like he took away my enjoyment.
Right,
Obviously,
right.
Like,
you felt like you're watching a Pete Davidson thing.
He's in his lane, I guess.
Yes,
like, he knows that he probably know. He would tell you, the first person to tell you. He's like, I'm not like a distinguished actor,
right? Yeah, I think that you're right. It's probably bigger for Rami Malek, and I think that the answer is kind of like I don't. This sounds so mean. I just don't think he's a good actor.
I think that his role in the Bond movie that's coming out this year is going to really make or break how I perceive Rami Malek.
So we are looking at huge bounce back Malek potential.
Yeah,
he very much needs it.
I think that he's had several swings and misses, and he needs to make solid contact.
Yeah. I'll say, in Malek's defense, I also didn't really think Jared Leto was good. I think that Jared Leto was extremely over the top, which isn't the reputation you want to keep hammering home. And I think that Jared Leto is really driving into that.
Sure. But I also believe, so like if we're talking about like something that fits the character that he's supposed to be playing, I do believe that like him being over the top served the role here, because this was a guy who was trying to be over the top and be like, I'm really fucking nutty. Like I'm just like I'm a crime buff.
Yeah.
Like he seemed, it didn't take away, because I think that was like part of the role. And also like, I don't like Jared Leto, but I think that role was like kind of perfect for him.
But I think it's the role that he wants to take.
Yeah.
He saw that and he was like, oh, he licked the pages.
Yeah.
He's like, oh boy, I'll grow my hair. Hey, how about this? Like, my hair's kind of long. How about I grow a little longer?
Won't sleep for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Maybe, no, he gains weight for this role, right?
Yeah, he looks like shit.
Yeah. He's, yeah. I think I was able to see past the bad performances and just actually try to think about the movie for what it was.
Bad movie.
And bad movie.
Yeah.
Like the storyline, what ends up happening at the end, especially the last scene, like I thought the last scene was going to be some sort of answer, some sort of reveal. It reveals a small little kind of afterthought detail that
there's no like epiphany or like no like aha.
Yeah, like would it be? Should we spoil it? Nah, whatever. It's not.
No,
worth spoiling.
we don't. Yes, it's really not worth spoiling. I would just say like this movie builds for a whole lot a whole long time.
Good call.
It's like a slow burn, slow build kind of thing, and then like you're just there.
Yeah.
Like you're just there, and it's not satisfying whatsoever.
Yeah. And there's like a whole lot of
And there's a whole lot of like questionable, like, why the fuck would like this person do this? Like, you're led to believe that these are smart people that are like really, really that thrive to get where they are. And
I mean, Rami Malek's character is entirely incompetent.
Yes. Yeah.
He has no idea what he's like, a lead detective, and he's just going up to everybody being like, what did you put down? Let me see. What did you put down?
Explain this to me.
I think the same thing.
Also, like, there's a scene at the end where Rami Malek is with the supposed serial killer. I guess this might venture into spoil territory, but like he's with this supposed serial killer by himself, and he thinks this guy is a serial killer. He's convinced. He's convinced that this guy is a serial killer, and he goes off alone with him in the middle of nowhere, and the guy says, "Dig a hole." And Rami Malek just turns his back to the guy that he thinks is a serial killer.
Totally. He could have a gun and he says, he was like, this comes after a confrontation where he's like, you already felt me up, so you know that I don't have anything on me. Well, then they got into his car and drove into the middle of nowhere, so he could have shit there. Were you waiting for a landmine?
Something like that.
I was when he was saying like, hey, go over there. 3 more steps. Up, hot, cold. I was like, if we get a landmine right now, I'm going to be as confused as I've been this entire time.
So they really want you to believe that that Denzel and Rami Malek are like very smart, which Denzel I think comes off as
Denzel
he knows what he's doing. Rami Malek does not. But they also make you like want to think that Jared Leto is this like mastermind serial killer who's great at covering his tracks, and like the conclusion is just like a complete departure from what you think of those two characters.
Totally. I only had 2 notes. One was there's a scene where Malek is trying to get Denzel to come with him for something, and he's like, and this is like 35 minutes into the movie. Like, you've gotten a lot of bad, confusing Rami Malek so far. Like, a lot of, does his character not blink, or is he just not blinking?
I think that's a Rami Malek trait.
But that acting listeners, let us know. We can ask Randy. Like, stuff like that, like not blinking, is like a pretty. That's a distinct quality,
right? If Rami Malek was a good actor, if Rami Malek was a good actor, he could act like a fucking normal person,
or somebody who blinks as often as So, anyway, he says to Denzel, he's like, "Come on, maybe you can teach me a thing or two." So my note was, please, Denzel, teach him a thing or two. And then at the beginning of the scene, there's this long scene towards the end of the movie with Rami Malek and Jared Leto, and I was like 3 minutes into it, and I was like, who let these two be the only people in a scene in this movie? You can't leave these 2 performances unsupervised. And then you get just like 15 minutes of just a lot of suckiness. And yeah, I agree with you. I'm normally not thinking about performances that strongly. Like I was watching Promising Young Woman. Carey Mulligan.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, like it'll strike me when somebody's good. I'll be like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know who else is doing this role this well. Like, this is a really good performance.
Yeah, I just don't go into movies being like, I'm going to look for this person to suck.
Yeah.
Like, even if I don't like an actor, or I don't like necessarily prefer an actor, I just generally believe that they're good.
I will admit, probably that Bounce Back Malek was a little bit on my radar. Where as I was watching it, I was like, okay, I haven't seen Malek in a minute. Obviously, we don't want to talk about the horrible Queen movie in that performance, but
but I think like it stems from like he became fucking hot shit after the Queen movie.
Yeah,
and that rubbed me the wrong way. But it's again like I still don't want to root against him. I'm just like annoyed that people think that he's good based off of that piece of shit movie.
I don't blame him for his performance in that. Like I don't think he had a good performance in that movie, but
he was
I think
like
that movie
at
was
the lower
absolute mess.
on a lower rung of like things that are wrong with that movie.
Very much so. I mean, him winning Best Actor is...
Take issue with that, but...
That's the most insane Oscars moment we've talked about on this podcast right now, today. And we talked about
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
La La Land standing up there, all of them up there in their suits, hating themselves while Moonlight won the Oscar. Rami Malek winning Best Actor is more absurd than that. So, rough movie. Give it a watch. It's on HBO Max. I don't know. Like I'll just, even if you tell me, hey, this movie isn't so great, give it a spin. You saw it before me. You're like, I don't really like it. And I was like, well,
yeah. I mean, I'll take anything. Gotta
watch it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird situation just because like I want to enjoy every single movie that I put on. Like I'm actively trying to like every movie that I put on because I'm so desperate to watch movies.
We're in the market for enjoyment these days.
Yeah, and I came away from that one being like, "Fuck, am I an asshole?" Like I just didn't like that.
Yeah. I felt super mean as I was watching. I felt mean tweeting like I said. I feel bad for Denzel in this movie because one of the other performances is distractingly bad. I was like, I hate that my brain is thinking this way. But I did kind of feel bad for Denzel, although I wonder if he made a calculated risk that after Roman J. Israel Esquire, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Everyone hated that movie. I didn't hate that movie that much.
I never saw it.
I'll tell you, it was not beloved. I thought it was okay, but I think that people kind of like laughed at and mocked that movie. I think he was like, "Ooh, we're not often in this position, but bounce back, Denzel. How do I handle this? Let's get two people who are held in high esteem, who I know because I'm Denzel Washington and understand acting better than any of these idiots who talk about it, aren't really that good. I'll be in a movie with them." Let them stink up the joint, and people will be like, "Wow, we know what good acting is. We know what bad acting is."
I mean, I think Denzel was pretty good in this movie, but like, I do have a general sense around Denzel now where I think that like that guy's just phoning it in.
Oh yeah, very possibly. There's like a little Seinfeld to him. Maybe he's getting into like the current Seinfeld stage of his career.
And I don't know if it's like a thing that he's necessarily doing. Like, again, I think that he was pretty good in this movie. I just think that either he's phoning it in or he's only getting roles where he like just plays a tired, washed guy, and it seems like he's phoning everything in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the general attitude of a lot of his characters are kind of like, yeah, well, I'm a little past my prime. Got a little bit of a belly on me now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you,
I'm tired.
I can give you a couple of pointers.
Right. Yeah. I think that, like, he's just, like, every character.
That's my Denzel impression, by the way. Hey, everybody. Denzel here.
Hello, I am Denzel Washington.
Yeah, just, like, lightly from the South.
Yeah. Every role that he takes is, like, a guy who's just, like, a little pudgy, hasn't been to the gym. He's probably needs a few more hours sleep, and he's just kind of had it.
Yeah.
And then it'll give you the impression that, like, somebody's just washed.
Yeah, I don't like that though. I need a. We'll get another Best Actor Denzel before.
You think so?
I hope so.
He's not getting Best Actor movies.
That's the thing he's doing. What's it called? What was the action series he was doing?
The Equalizer.
The Equalizer. Yeah, like I didn't watch those movies.
I did. They were fine. The first one was pretty good.
Yeah, but I'm like.
It's like I don't need Denzel doing those movies.
Right.
It should be like a guy who was never an A-lister.
Do another Philadelphia, man.
It should be it should be a Liam Neeson. Like Liam Neeson should be doing those movies where like Liam Neeson's not that good.
Right. But they're like he's the stupid action movie guy.
Right. Yeah. I don't want Denzel to be the fucking stupid action movie guy.
Yeah. I'd like to I don't know, maybe I'm going to go home and watch Philadelphia.
Keanu Reeves was like never like a A-list or like I don't know, like he wasn't taken super seriously. Then he did John Wick, which is a stupid action movie, and then he just fucking like, elevated him to an entire new level.
Keanu's so perfect for John Wick. What perfect casting? Where like he's respected because he's been around a long time, but I think enough people kind of view him as like a little bit of a no offense, like a little bit of a joke.
He's a compiler.
What's that?
Like they talk about that for like the Baseball Hall of Fame, where it's just like a guy's been around for so long, like he's been around for so long and just pads his stats, and like consistently performs, but never at like an A-list level.
Yeah,
Keanu's been around for so long and has made like a bunch of good movies, but has never like really crushed it until John Wick.
Right. I mean, his A-list quality is that he's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we got through that. Do we want?
I don't think that we were that negative, by the way. Like,
I mean, I'm sad to be that negative. Like, even if somebody was,
but I think that we were effectively negative, not like depressingly negative,
and hopefully not mean. Like,
no,
I think
mean.
that if Rami Malek listened to this, I think he'd be sad.
Yeah, he'd probably be like sad, maybe a little offended, but not like not be like that was malicious.
Right, but even so, I mean, I thought about this as I was thinking about how bad I felt disliking this performance. I was like, if I listened to two people sitting down being like, hey, look, I'm sure he's a nice guy and he tries really hard. Like, I really think that like DJ does a bad job with everything he does. I'd be like, even more sad than if somebody was like, fuck DJ, he hates Tom Brady. I'd be like, well, you just love Tom Brady, you loser. Fuck you back. Yeah,
you could just write it off as that other person being an asshole. So if we're sitting here being like,
look, I thought about it
for you, pal, but you suck.
I've thought about it, and I'm not positive he'd do something else well, but he doesn't do the things he does well.
All right, so let's redo the conversation. Fuck Rami Malek. That guy just
so
sucks.
Me. Do not like that guy.
The Bohemian Rhapsody chud should stay out of Hollywood forever.
Right, that was his fault. He ruined that movie. And now he can just write us off as a couple of assholes. Your Honor is...
Oh, man, I forgot about this.
That is a runaway train of bad. It's crazy. And I still like the show. I can't wait for the next episode.
I love the show, man. I love the show, but holy shit, that show is insane.
Did you rewind this week when he's sitting down with the jury and he's like, look, it goes against everything I believe in to not have the press in here for this trial. But if we're going to beat this virus, I was like, is COVID happening?
So, like, it's super confusing because, number one, they bring COVID in out of fucking nowhere, and two, they, like, use it as a real-time metaphor for, like, the court system being infiltrated by Baxter.
But there's COVID happening in, like, 1.5 scenes?
Yeah.
And the rest, like, they're all doing maskless.
They're going out to eat, like... Never seen a mask on any of the characters that are just talking to each other. Just one juror is wearing a mask, and they're like, "We can't bring," and like they know that they can't bring people into the courtroom. So it's like enough to the point where they know that it's pretty serious. That's a mass situation.
I think they probably made the show before COVID, and like right at the. Like they were finishing up as COVID started, and they were like,
"Let's work this in.
Let's get in one scene just in case." Like there are masks. I don't fucking know. You give one guy who will wear masks. 1 out of every 100 people. Yeah, let's get. Hey, 1 out of every 100 people put on a mask. This will look good.
Oh
my god,
it's fucking crazy.
Just
There's
pretend it didn't
exist. Right.
Just. I'm racking my brain thinking like, how did this end up happening?
There is literally zero reason to be like, yo, we have to like make sure everybody knows that this is happening in 2020.
Meanwhile, you got Stuhlbarg just ramping up the threats. I feel like Stuhlbarg is kind of trying to like keep the show on track.
He's like, we've only got 9 episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything else, like all these weird things are happening, like the daughter and the son and everything dating. And like, I feel like Stuhlbarg is like constantly snapping at the camera of like, hey, if I don't get what I want by next week's episode, I'm going to kill somebody. It's like, oh, let's follow that thing.
It's like, let's call this a deadline. You've got 48 hours. It's like, motherfucker, you are a crime boss. You should know how trials work.
Right. Also, he said, let's call it a deadline, and let's define it in its most literal sense. I meant to look up, what's the definition of deadline? Because I don't think that the literal definition of deadline is...
Hey, stand on this line.
Kill somebody. Yeah, let's look it up. I've been looking up things all the time of late, because you see that Jared Goff said... I'm just glad that I got traded to a team where I'm appreciated, and everyone was like, "Yo, they like."
Yo, I'm
you were
pretty
just,
sure
like,
that you were
throwing-
appreciated in Los Angeles. You just sucked.
Right. So I was like, I quote tweeted with like, just a reminder, like appreciate means, and I always use appreciate in its literal sense of like, I appreciate what you're saying, which is like, I totally get what you, or like, I appreciate what this person brings. It's not saying like, I love what this person brings. It's saying,
Like,
I know
understand
what
it.
this
Yeah.
is. So like, correct. Both teams appreciate you. You are a fringe starting quarterback in the NFL.
Also, just like what a ridiculous quote. It's just
Jared
like,
Goff and Rami Malek are listening to this podcast like, yo, these guys are dicks together, no masks.
It's like I think the Detroit Lions appreciate you because you've never played for them yet.
Right. Okay, let's see, deadline definition. Do you think that last week's episode of Your Honor has led to a spike in
Googling
searches
of
for
deadline?
Let's see. Deadline definition. The latest time or date by which something should be completed. Use it in a sentence. The deadline for submissions is February 5th. Ooh. Deadline's coming up.
Oh shit, we got 36 hours or
That's-
whatever it is.
And so let's call
48
that
hours.
a deadline. But that's what that means. So I wish that there are a couple scenes where Cranston will shoot back at Stuhlbarg
Yeah.
and be like, look, you're not so great yourself,
Yeah.
or something like that.
You're not the only big dick in town,
Right. I
pal.
think that is the dialogue in this
Yeah.
show. Like, hey, I don't see you winning any good person of, I don't know, like great person awards.
You ever see the video of the two guys in the street in New York City where they're just like flipping each other off very aggressively, but
No.
not actually fighting? They're just like fucking aggressively flipping each other off and like very silently. That's what the show is.
That happens in Flight of the Conchords, the episode with Aziz Ansari. Did you watch Flight of the Conchords?
No.
There's an episode where Aziz Ansari, so it's set in New York, Aziz Ansari sells fruit, and he hates Jermaine and Britt, and it's because he's racist against them. He said, like, so he says, like, hey, where are you guys from? New Zealand. He says, like, okay, well, I don't sell my fruit to people from New Zealand, and he's so horrible to them. And at the end of the episode, they realize he's like, yeah, fucking New Zealand, throw another shrimp on the Barbie, like fucking jump around with your fucking kangaroos. And they're like, hey, that's Australia. That's not New Zealand. And he's like, really? And he's like, they're like, yeah. And he's like, oh shit, I guess I hate people from Australia. And they're like, well, we hate people from Australia. So then it's just them. The end of the episode is them going by the Australian embassy, just like aggressively giving the finger, like running by, like boom, 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 boom. And that's how that episode ends. But yeah, Your Honor, very stupid right now.
Yeah, I feel like Your Honor would be like a great candidate for a show where we do like a week-long series on where we just talk about and like dissect it and be like, these are all the ridiculous things that happen in this fucking show, but man, do we ever fucking love it?
Yeah, and we could do we talked about like how places will do what this show got right and what they got wrong. We could get like a New Orleans expert on there.
That's what I wanted to do with Isaiah Whitlock.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, did we say that? Did we?
I don't know if we ever found out if he was from New Orleans.
I was thought I was asking. Have we said on the podcast that
we
tried to get
Isaiah Whitlock in.
Tried to get, not to brag.
It was a swift denial.
Isaiah Whitlock follows Pete on Twitter, so Pete jumped in them DMs.
Yeah,
and
I think that he may no longer follow me on Twitter.
Let's check. Does he still?
Yeah, let's check. I'll see. I think he's a nice guy. I just think that like he wants a mutually silent relationship between the two of us. Because he doesn't follow a lot of people, and he's followed me for a long time, and we've never interacted until this time.
Really?
And it may not happen again. Yeah, he still follows me.
That just made me check if a
band member,
a BSD who follows me still follows me. I was like, let me check.
A BSD,
big swinging.
Oh,
like a big shot person who follows me for some reason.
I I'm going to check that too. Yep.
Hold on. Now let's check. Wait, I'm going to check if this person follows me. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, still got him. Although he follows.
That's when I was looking.
Oh,
at.
that's what you were checking. Okay, hold on. Let me check if they follow me.
This is great content.
Let's see. Yep, still follows. And they don't follow. Yeah, they don't follow that many people.
Nope.
We got the follow. All right. Hold on. No, just kidding. I'm making a table.
How's that going?
Depends on how you want to think about it. Like I've learned so much.
Do you have a table?
If you were to have, hold on. No, not yet. But
you're about to get into a.
It's waiting to be completed. I made the legs, made the tabletop, put on the stain, put on the one coat of polyurethane, but I was making it outside, and now it's snowing, so now I got to take a little break. So now it's just kind of in TBD mode. But I've learned so much that if you were to say, as soon as I'm done, hey, make that table again, I bet that second table would fuck. This first table, not so great. I've learned about, I glued it together. Oh yeah, I took a bunch of pieces of wood, glued them together, then put clamps on them. So it's like a big tabletop. And then once the glue dried, I screwed 2 pieces of wood to it so it holds all of it together. So it's like double reinforced. Then when I put this, then I sanded it, I put the stain on. I never built anything in my life. I sanded it, put the stain on it, and turns out I didn't do a good job of cleaning up the excess glue. So there was just like glue all over that fucking tabletop. So then when I went to stain it, our guy, Chris Abraham, you remember Chris Abraham?
Yeah.
Bruins Twitter guy.
Seems like a guy who knows how to build a table.
He's a crazy carpenter. So this led to me doing a little DMing with him over this. He was like, "Yeah, the wood absorbed the glue. So then when you try to have it absorb stain, it's like
I'm full here.
Yeah, like hey." So
I just ate.
So there's a bunch of parts of the table that are just like no stain at all, and then there's some where it's got a lot of stain. So I think when it's done, I'm gonna like the charm of it, where it looks like somebody built their first table.
It's a baby's first table.
Exactly.
Yeah. We should try to build the table, get really fucked up, and then come back and try to build it again.
Yo, for real, let's do that, because I bet if you build a table and you'll make enough mistakes that when you're drunk later, as long as you remember the mistakes you made, I bet the drunk table will be better.
How long does it take to build a table? Like, if you do, can you do like a table in like one? You obviously have to like wait for things to happen.
Right. I mean, so the table, the legs I made out of pipe, so that was just like screwing a bunch of things together.
How many Twitch streams would it take to make a table? Because
so my friends were saying this. I was sanding the table as we were playing poker on Zoom, and they were like, "Yo, this is the type of shit that you should be streaming on Twitch." And I was like, "Nah."
Yes.
It takes 2 seconds to fucking sand a table. And they were like, "I don't think it does." And I was like, well, I just finished, so...
No. Drunk building a table on Twitch would do well.
All right, well, think about it. Let's know whether or not we're going to do it by next week's episode. It's called a deadline.
In the literal sense.